I'm Rod Serling. You're listening to the Zero Hour. Rest your eyes. Exercise your imagination. This week, Tobias Wells' neo-Gothic tale of small-town terror. A Die in the Country. Starring Peter Marshall, Susan Strasberg, and Andrew Duggan. In Elliot Lewis's production of The Zero Hour.
The Mutual Broadcasting System presents The Zero Hour. Sponsored in part by
Quaker State Motor Oil and Beechnut Chewing Tobacco. This is The Zero Hour on Mutual Radio.
It's never easy to pick up and move to a new community. There's always a necessary period of adjustment. Young Boston detective Newt Severson and his wife Brenda are now in the process of adapting to their new surroundings. They've just moved to the quiet suburban town of Wellesley to await the birth of their first child. They've settled into a recently remodeled 3-story Victorian house with a small patch of New England woods on one side and Miss Mercy Bird, mystery writer and the town recluse, on the other. Directly across the street lives Wellesley's most prominent citizen, Town Selectman Rudolph Wharton, subject of current gossip concerning the recent desertion of his wife. As Detective Severson soon learns, Wharton is being harassed by a series of anonymous poisoned pen letters accusing him of his wife's murder. Back at his desk at the Boston police station, Newt Severson finds that Precinct Captain Granger has a further crime report from Wellesley. Newt Severson is beginning to question the advisability of his move to the country, and he is yet to meet the rest of his neighbors. A Die in the Country will continue in a moment.
VISTA means Volunteers in Service to America.
I started out as a business major in college. I graduated as a business major. I got into VISTA because I wanted to really do something. I chose this as my line, and when getting into it, it changed my whole life. I went through cultural shock. I found out what types of people really need the help and what's really happening in our country in the back areas. There is so much to be done, but I could say that if a person anywhere has an interest in doing something, there are programs for them. VISTA is one viable means, but there's so many ways of really getting involved with people. VISTA gave me my first start to work with the problems happening in this country and to really get down to earth and work with the people that need it.
Volunteer for VISTA. VISTA is one part of action. Action is doing something.
There is something you can do. Get into action.
As if the threatening letters sent to Rudolph Wharton weren't enough. Now we had even more to worry about.
Obscene phone calls, a whole rash of them. Seems that some kook got hold of the Wellesley phone book. The calls are occurring systematically to nearly every house in your town.
Every house?
And the caller seems to be working right through the book. Sometimes from the front of it, sometimes from the back.
What ploy does he use?
Well, he claims he's a doctor doing a survey. His research, he says, calls for answers to a number of questions. And he starts off nice enough. Pretty soon he's into the interviewee's sex life. Now, you know how it goes from there. Some of the ladies in your town are pretty upset.
I can imagine. But why did Torrance call you? What's the Boston connection?
Well, they've been tracing the calls when they could, but the caller he's been jumping all over the place. Once they thought they had him. Months ago, when the calls first started, a series of them were traced to one Wellesley number. Turned out to be a family on an extended vacation. And the nut, whoever he is, had made an entry through a cellar window. Never stole anything, he just used the phone.
They stake out the place?
Yeah, sure. But of course, by then, the guy had found himself another Michi. After that, he used pay booze mostly. Once, even the telephone in the high school principal's office. And you don't know how he managed that.
Don't tell me he's operating all the way out of Boston.
Well, the latest calls have been traced to of all places, a phone booth at the aquarium here.
This one sounds like a real weirdo.
Aren't they all? Torrance wants us to stake it out, and since you have a personal interest in the town, I thought you'd be the man to do it.
Has he established any time pattern?
Now, they call it their phones at night or on the weekend. Only those hours when most women are home alone.
That figures. Any voice description?
Nobody seems to agree. So maybe there's more than one nut at work. Anyway, he could be young, he could be old.
Any chance, do you think, that he might really be a doctor?
There can be a twisted mind in any profession. You know as well as I do, anything's possible.
Yeah. It's what my wife calls a cop's suspicious nature. She's already accused me of looking at everybody in Wellesley as a suspect.
Poison pen letters, obscene phone calls. Sounds to me you have reason to.
So I waited out the day at the Boston Aquarium. But Wellesley's elusive sex nut continued to be the one that got away. At Captain Granger's suggestion, I stopped by on my way home to report to Police Chief Torrance of the Wellesley force.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry that you got sent on a wild goose chase, Everson. Today he called from a pay booth in Dedham.
You got a quick trace on him?
No, he's aware we're putting traces on him. This time he simply announced to his victim where he was calling from. Then he told me he alerted you to the crank letters being received by Rudolph Wharton.
Yeah, he asked me to keep an eye out since Wharton lives right across the street from us.
All right, we'd appreciate that.
There isn't any doubt about that letter you received from Mrs. Wharton confirming her whereabouts, is there? I mean, no suspicion of forgery or anything.
Good God, man. Wharton is one of our selectmen, remember? Oh, all right, I'm a cop. I know better, so I placed a person-to-person call to her that I paid for myself. Didn't want it to show up on the department phone bills. Our selectmen have to approve all monthly vouchers.
So you actually talked to her then?
Now, she talked to me is more like it. Told me off for wasting my time tracking her down when I should be tracking down the people sending the letters.
I'd like to have a copy of whatever record you have of the calls, and also photostats of the Wharton letters.
Oh, you can get both of those from the clerk on your way out.
Hey, now, I guess I'd better be getting home to my wife.
Well, let's hope our women don't get the idea that there's some kind of fiend loose on our streets. But in point of fact, there is.
It's me, honey.
In the living room, Newt. Come on in and meet Mrs. Farley.
The Farleys in the house catty-corner across the street. I remembered Mrs. Parsons' rundown on them. Congenial couple with the two potential teenage delinquents. I walked in and saw a faded blonde in a red pantsuit sitting across the coffee table from Brenda.
Gloria Farley, my husband, Newt.
Pleased to meet you.
I was just apologizing to your wife for not having come over sooner. I keep rather busy running a house with 2 children and holding down a job as well.
I can understand that.
I can't imagine it. Just the thought of a house with 1 baby, and it scares me.
In particular, I came to invite you and your wife to a party this Saturday evening. Our house. You'll meet my husband and a few friends.
Oh, that sounds nice. It'll be our first evening out in Wellesley.
Oh, then I'm glad I thought of it. Late but sincere, that's me.
Thanks for asking us. It's just what we need, really.
Good. Well, it's nice to have new neighbors, especially compatible ones.
After Gloria Farley had left while Brenda put the finishing touches on a meatloaf dinner, I was going to get busy on that homework I'd asked Chief Torrance for. But instead it seemed Mine Hair was late for his dinner, and Brenda asked me to go make sure he wasn't out squirrel hunting again. Here, kitty, kitty, kitty. Come on, Mine Hair. Hey, where are you, cat?
If you're looking for your cat, I think I may have him. Is this one yours?
He is. I didn't think he'd cross the street. My name's Severson. You're Mr. Wharton.
Yes. And it's my fault. I like cats, and he's a beautiful animal. I lured him over.
He's not used to all this freedom. We've been apartment dwellers in Boston.
You're a detective, I understand.
That's right.
Well, our crime here is of the minor variety as a rule, and not much of it at that.
That suits me. I get enough of it on the job.
Care to come in for a drink?
Oh, thanks, but I think my dinner's on the table. I'll have to take a rain check, if I may.
Of course.
Wharton gave Mine Hair one final stroke and handed him to me. And as he did, I was struck by a curious resemblance. There was a look about their eyes that seemed the same, his and the cat's. I said goodnight and walked back across the street, running my hand thoughtfully across Mine Hair's glossy fur. I found myself wondering which look it had been, that of our formerly docile house cat, or the killer it had become.
We're take a lot of trips this season to places that you may have seen before.
To stores.
To school.
Out to the swimming pool.
To the dentist, to the market, we will take our car and park it.
We're still taking a lot of car trips these days, but these days, most of them are short trips. Unfortunately, short trips are tough on your car because it never gets the chance to really warm up enough to eliminate harmful deposits, things like rust, grit, and acid. They build up, and before you know it, they start doing lasting damage to your engine. Short trips call for the high-quality protection of Quaker State Motor Oil. Quaker State is refined from 100% pure Pennsylvania-grade crude oil, the world's choicest. Then it's fortified to protect your engine against deposits and keep your car running young. Now that you're taking more short trips than ever, it's nice to know you can find Quaker State more places than ever.
Quaker State, your car, to keep it running young.
We'll return to our story in a moment.
Even if someone served them a slice of beef, they couldn't bite into it. Their teeth are too weak. I'm not talking about some people over in Africa or Asia. I'm talking about Americans. American children. It's tragic how many thousands of them are in this country whose teeth will literally rot in their mouths because they'll never receive basic dental care. They may not even own a toothbrush. What hurts is that it takes so very little for any one of us to help them. The same dollar, for instance, that buys you 2 packs of cigarettes can buy 3 American children the first toothbrushes they've ever owned. I'm Cliff Robertson. Won't you give up some cigarettes so some American children can have their first toothbrush? Send your dollar to Americans for Children's Relief, Box 5050, Stamford, Connecticut. Box 5050, Stamford, Connecticut. $1. And, of course, if you can afford more, give more.
Chief Torrance was right about the obscene phone call list. It was hard to find a handle. I charted the calls on a calendar and didn't come up with anything beyond my own frustration. I thought I had a thread, 4 calls on consecutive Mondays from a pay booth outside the Wellesley Railroad Station between the hours of 8:30 and 9:30. Could be a commuter. But then the pay booth number dropped from the list and was never used again. Sometimes he called 4 or 5 days in a row, and another time a week went by without a complaint. Of course, maybe that was only a time when those women he called hadn't bothered to report it. That was too often our problem. On the one hand, there were the cranks who bothered us about nothing, and on the other, there were always those who came up against real crime and kept it a big, dark secret, even from the police. By the time Saturday night came, I was ready for that party at the Farleys and curious about who was going to be there.
Hello, Jefferson. Come in and name your poison.
Gloria Farley beckoned us into the high-ceiling living room and gestured us toward the bar set up on top of a baby grand piano. Obviously, the Farleys were more drinkers than music lovers, and, as it turned out, drama buffs. All of the people invited were members of the local little theater group, a kind of unisex couple appropriately named Chris and Christine, a second couple, the Kletz, Harvey and Angel, and Dolly Celine, a buxom redhead who instantly established her status as a widow in a plainly seductive tone of voice. Then we briefly met the Farley children, Delilah and Greg. I say briefly because they were both obviously eager to get out of the house. Perfectly normal for 2 teenagers when their parents are throwing a party. However, Gloria Farley was perturbed with them for rushing off in front of company.
Delilah, I want you home at a decent hour, do you hear? And Greg, don't be in such a hurry. Please drive slowly. Do you have your house key?
Oh, shit. They never want to stay home anymore. Oh, here's Arlen, my husband.
There was a sudden whir of a motor, and we followed Gloria Farley's gaze to the top of the stairs. At that moment, a chair device came gliding down the staircase bearing Arlen Farley, a big-chested man with a full head of wavy white hair and a wide smile that revealed a mouthful of sparkling white teeth. At the foot of the stairs, he rose from the chair and walked toward us.
I had a coronary last year, and the doctor recommended this chariot. It's kind of fun, and it makes a great entrance.
Very impressive.
These are our new neighbors, Arlen, Brenda and Newt Severson. I'll fix your ginger ale.
Thanks, honey. Yeah, to get off the hard stuff. Cigarettes, too, the penalty for a misspent youth. Gloria tells me you're a cop.
Detective. Boston Police. What's your business?
Prosthetics, false teeth. If you ever need a pair of choppers, I'm your man.
For goodness sake, I'm sure we have more interesting things to talk about than false teeth.
I do. I bet no one can guess what happened to me the other day. All right, then. I'll tell you. Got one of those dirty phone calls.
Oh, Dolly, how awful.
Oh, maybe it wasn't so awful. Maybe Dolly enjoyed it.
Oh, don't pretend to be so shocked, Gloria. I did enjoy it for a while until, well, he did go a little too far.
You mean you just hung on and let him keep talking to
Well,
you?
at first I thought he was legitimate. He said he was a doctor. Dr. Venable, he said.
Mrs. Celine,
Dolly, please, Mr. Severson.
did you report the call to the police?
Why, no. Should I have?
When did you say this happened? Exactly. I mean, can you remember?
I guess it must have been the day before yesterday, sometime in the afternoon. I certainly don't remember the time exactly. It wasn't that important.
What did he say to you? I mean, why did you think it was legitimate?
Well, first he asked for Robert, my late husband, you know. His name's still in the directory. And then he explained he was interviewing married women or women who've been married for a survey.
What kind of questions did he ask?
Yeah, Doll, what kind of questions did he ask?
Arlen, this isn't funny.
To start with, just ordinary questions, like how long I'd been married and how long we'd dated beforehand, just things like that.
And then what?
Then he began asking some very personal things. I mean, he wanted to know every little detail.
I'll bet.
So finally I asked him, is this necessary? And he said, oh, yes, it's a very important part of the survey.
And you bought that?
I explained that all the information I was giving him would be fed into a computer and be strictly anonymous. And then he told me if I'd answer all the rest of his questions, he'd put me on his paid subject list. He said persons who are particularly helpful to him get paid.
I'll bet.
Arlen, will you stop saying that?
So then you answered all the rest of his questions,
Yeah, some.
Good God, Dolly, how could you? Perfectly strange man over the telephone, doctor or not.
I admit, they finally got so bad I said to him, look, what are you? A dirty old man.
And, what did he say to that?
There was a long silence. I thought I'd made him angry, and then suddenly he laughed. He had quite a pleasant laugh, and he said, Mrs. Celine, I'd like to meet you.
Dolly, you didn't.
Well, of course not. I told him that I wasn't going to answer any more questions either, not even for money.
Then did you hang up on him?
Finally.
No. He thanked me and hung up himself.
He thanked you? That was nice.
He did have a pleasant laugh. He really did. Maybe he was legitimate.
What kind of speaking voice did he have? Can you describe it?
Deep. Kind of silky. Well, to put it plainly, he had a sexy voice. It's the only way to describe it.
Dolly.
I think, Mrs. Celine, you'd better tell all of this to the police.
Mr. Severson, note, you're a policeman, aren't you? And I've just told it all to you.
Oh, what a dreadful woman.
You mean Mrs. Celine?
Just call me Dolly, you big, handsome policeman.
Hey, you weren't jealous, were you?
Oh, jealous of her? Imagine going on and on with that kind of telephone conversation.
Honey, she's a widow without a man. She must be very lonely.
Oh, she wasn't lonely tonight. You spent practically the entire evening with her.
I wanted to find out all I could about the phone conversation.
I'll bet.
Come on, Brenda. What's gotten into you? You never act like this.
Well, I've never had reason to before. Of course, I suppose I really shouldn't blame you. It can't be very exciting going to bed every night with an old sack of potatoes.
Aha! So that's it. Oh, darling, I don't care how pregnant you get. You'll always look better to me than any voluptuous redhead.
Newt.
And you don't have to worry about Dolly Celine. She isn't my type, first of all, and I promise you I won't ever see or talk to her again. Hello? Oh. Yes, what is it, Mrs. Celine? Dolly?
You know a man's world is small and getting smaller every day, but there are certain things you still do. Still say what you think, you still pay for the drinks, and beach nuts the tobacco you chew. Weird ideas taking hold, kids won't do what they're told. Who knows what this whole world's coming to? but you keep your face to the wind. You don't quit on a friend, and beechnut's the tobacco you chew. Seems like a man's world just isn't the same anymore, but some things you can still trust, like beechnut chewing tobacco. Beechnut just keeps on getting better. Beechnut's a lot moister these days, with more taste, less stems. Today's beechnut, fresher, longer-lasting flavor. You ought to try it. Girls in bars, girls in pants, a man just don't stand a chance, but there's still ways to show 'em who's who. You treat your dogs with respect, you keep your traps oiled and checked, and beechnut's the tobacco you chew.
The Zero Hour continues after this.
This is John Bartholomew Tucker. Your body does a lot of talking. It tells you you're hungry. It lets you know you need water. It may warn you a stroke is on the way. These are some of stroke's warning signs. Sudden temporary weakness or numbness of the face, arm, or leg. Temporary difficulty or loss of speech. Sudden temporary dimness or loss of vision, particularly in one eye. An episode of double vision. Unexplained headaches. Temporary dizziness or unsteadiness. If you notice one or more of these signs, see your doctor. This year, over 200,000 Americans will die of stroke. Don't let one of them be you. Ask your Heart Association for further information about stroke and how to prevent it. Helping you to feel better and live better longer is just one of the services of your Heart Association. Give to your Heart Fund.
It turned out all Dolly Celine wanted was more attention. The woman was lonely. Perfect prey for a telephone nut. She was also more frightened about the call than she acted at the party. She knew she had done a foolish thing, so again I referred her to the Wellesley Police Department, said a polite goodnight, and hung up. My attention at the moment was in full demand upstairs in my own bedroom. The next week or so passed more or less serenely at home, while my job provided all the excitement I wanted, and sometimes more than I asked for. When I got home tonight, I was really ready to put my feet up with a beer. But I didn't mind at all when I found company in the kitchen. It was Mercy Bird, and we hadn't seen much of her lately.
Busy on a book, that's why. Nobody sees me when I'm writing. How's your cat, by the way? I've had to let Algernon shift for himself lately, so I hope he hasn't been giving Mine Hair a problem.
Mine Hair's taken to spending a lot of time across the street. It seems Rudolph Wharton is a cat lover. You still don't like the man, I take it.
How can you not like a man who looks like Cary Grant on The Late Show?
Well, like they say, you can't judge a book. The man's no good. My mother died in his rest home, you know.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
The place is okay, isn't it? I mean, good doctors, good care.
And bloody expensive. But I'm not saying anything against the doctors. It's Rudolph Wharton I blame.
That doesn't seem fair.
Well, you don't know the man like I do. You don't know what he did to his wife.
What do you mean? What did he do to his wife?
Well, she was a Mayhew, you know. There was Ernestine and her sister Eulalie, and their father, Clarence Mayhew, owned half this town in his day.
You mean that's how Wharton acquired all his property?
Exactly. By marrying Ernestine Mayhew.
But there's nothing wrong with that.
It's what happened to Ernestine Mayhew that I'm talking about. She was a gay, lively thing until she married that one. Then she changed.
Changed? How?
Well, she changed completely. She became quiet and somber. Quiet and somber as a grave.
Oh?
Newt, this is Dolly Celine.
Dolly, what?
I'm frightened. I'm all alone here, and there's something wrong. Somebody's outside the house. I just know it.
Well, why don't you call the police?
They won't believe me. I'm afraid they think I'm something of a pest. Please, Newt, you're only a few blocks away. I wouldn't call in the middle of the night if I weren't scared stiff. Will you come over?
All right.
Oh, thank you, Newt. I feel safer already.
Whatever you do, if there's someone there, don't let him in.
I won't unless he's you. Please, Newt, hurry.
The house looked completely dark. I thought maybe Dolly Celine had given up and gone to bed. But then I spied the shades of a colored TV, ghosts moving in a box through the living room window. I got out of my car and moved slowly up the walk, keeping a careful eye on the surrounding shrubbery. It was so dark I couldn't see where the doorbell was, so I knocked. Mrs. Celine? Mrs. Celine?
No, Ray.
Mrs. Celine?
No. No. Please.
Dolly, I can't see you. Something moved on the floor. A sifting of shadows. I felt along the wall, found a switch and flicked it. The hall light came on and I saw her. Dolly Celine lying on the floor, dark splotches on her face and arms, bruises and blood. Blood redder than her hair.
He came, Newt. The telephoner. He came.
You are listening to Mutual's presentation of The Zero Hour.
This is Gene King for your Better Business Bureau. If you're planning a vacation by air, you know it's a good money-saving idea to check with the airlines to see if you qualify for a special fare. You may be able to save yourself a sizable sum of money, but remember, you must comply exactly with the conditions or you'll be asked to pay the regular rate. Now, most airlines, for example, offer 2 youth fare plans. The cheapest is Youth Fare Standby. In this, you'll be the last of the passengers called and may not get on the flight. And Youth Fare Reserve, however, guarantees you a seat on a reserved flight, but it'll cost you more. Discount fares are also offered on long-distance travel, but remember there are conditions. For example, you may have to make reservations 2 weeks in advance, and for some, 3 months in advance. You must travel midweek only and return after 7 to 9 days. And no holiday or peak period traveling on this plan. A consumer tip from your Better Business Bureau.
Young guy may be, but still I'm a man. Just turned 18 and I'll do what I can to find me a place where I can be me. Get ready for life, be free as the sea. Oh, where do I go from here? Where do I go from here?
What about the new Navy? You'll get your chance at success, learn an exciting job, and see the world. If you think you've got what it takes to make it in the new Navy, call toll-free 800-841-8000 or see your Navy recruiter. Be someone special in the new Navy.
All over the world, there's so much to do. All of the sea, don't you even do? I know where I'm going from here.
Tomorrow at this time, rest your eyes and listen here to this week's continuing study in suspense, A Die in the Country. I'm Rod Serling, and this is The Zero Hour.
Today's episode brought to you in part by Quaker State Motor Oil and Beechnut Chewing Tobacco. This is The Zero Hour on Mutual Radio.
You have been listening to The Zero Hour, a presentation of the Mutual Broadcasting System in association with Hollywood Radio Theater, heard every weekday at this time. Rod Serling is your host. Zero Hour is produced and directed by Elliott Lewis. The Hollywood Radio Theater theme was played by Ferranti and Teicher and is now available on United Artists Records and Tapes. Hugh Douglas speaking. Tune in tomorrow. And once again,
rest your eyes and listen here
to The Zero Hour.
This is the Mutual Radio Network.
I'm Rod Serling. You're listening to The Zero Hour. Rest your eyes. exercise your imagination. This week, Tobias Wells' neo-Gothic tale of small-town terror. A Die in the Country. Starring Peter Marshall. Susan Strasberg. And Andrew Duggan. In Elliot Lewis's production of The 0 Hour.
The Mutual Broadcasting System presents The 0 Hour. Sponsored in part by
Quaker State Motor Oil, Campho-Phenique, and Bayer Aspirin. This is The 0 Hour on Mutual Radio.
In this, our mobile society, the act of physically moving one's family from one town to another is a relatively simple matter. The problem is leaving old friends behind and making new ones. Detective Newt Severson and his wife Brenda, having recently moved from Boston to the small suburban town of Wellesley, have begun making those new friends. However, they find themselves becoming more deeply involved in a web of intrigue and violence among their neighbors. While on an innocent errand to return a lost dog to their next-door neighbor, Mercy Bird, Newt has come upon startling evidence which tends to incriminate still another of their new Wellesley friends. City living was never quite like this. A Die in the Country resumes after this word.
200 million people live in America today. Within 30 years, our population is expected to increase by 50% to 300 million. President Nixon, in his recent congressional message, expressed concern over the impact of population growth on the quality of life in America. Specifically, the burdens it will place on education, health, transportation, employment, housing, and our natural resources. At our present rate of growth, we would have to build a city the size of Tulsa, Dayton, or Jersey City every 30 days for the next 30 years to accommodate these additional 100 million Americans. A Planned Parenthood study shows that our population growth can be slowed if voluntary family planning help is made available to every family that wants it. Planned Parenthood provides family planning help all over America right now. Overpopulation, it's everybody's problem. Support Planned Parenthood.
All I had meant to do was let the dog in. But I found scissors, glue, and 3 words cut from old newspapers to make a bitter accusation. It was murder. So, Mercy Bird was the sender of the poison pen letters being received by Rudolph Wharton.
Newt. What are you doing in here?
I found Algernon.
It looks as if that's not all you found.
Why, Mercy? Why have you been sending these letters to Rudolph Wharton?
Because it's true. The man murdered his wife.
What makes you even think that?
I don't think it. I know it. Don't ask me how. I just do.
Then you've no evidence, no proof.
Not the kind you mean. But I know the kind of man Rudolph Wharton is, and I know the kind of person Ernestine Mayhew was. She wouldn't just go away like that. He killed her, I tell you.
Mercy, making such a terrible accusation against the man with no proof is going to land you in serious trouble.
Why doesn't somebody look for proof? If a man like Wharton wanted to get rid of a body, he'd find a way. Has anybody dug up his cellar, unlocked his trunks, examined his flower bed?
Mercy, you've been writing too many mystery stories.
You're a detective, aren't you? You know damn well murders are committed and bodies are hidden all the time. The only difference is nobody's looking for this one.
Nobody is looking for Ernestine Mayhew's body because the woman is alive and well, living with her sister in California. Chief Torrance has a letter from her, and he also talked to her on the telephone.
Oh, then the police do suspect something.
No. They acted on those letters, of course, to prove they were a hoax.
A hoax? That's exactly what Rudolph Wharton is pulling off. Don't you see?
See what?
Oh, of course. You don't know about Ernestine and her sister.
What about them?
That they look and sound so much alike. Could almost be twins, those two. I'll bet it was Eulalie that the chief got the letter from and talked to on the telephone.
That might work for one of your books, but how could Rudolph Wharton persuade Eulalie Mayhew to masquerade as her sister? Then she'd know that he had killed her.
Perhaps she does know.
And is just going along with it?
There's something else you don't know about the Mayhew sisters. They were both in love with Rudolph Wharton.
Oh, Newt, you're not going to the police about Mercy, are you?
Honey, I have to do something. This kind of thing just can't be ignored.
You don't suppose that there's a chance she's right about Rudolph Wharton?
That he's a murderer? Huh. Now who's looking at our neighbors like a cop?
But why would Mercy do this?
Well, we know she's a little eccentric, and I suppose as a mystery writer she may be inclined to let her imagination run amok.
Living all alone in that creepy house.
You know, there's hardly any furniture inside. I mean, from what I could see.
Keeping her mother in that rest home must have been very expensive.
Yeah. And a rest home owned by the rich Rudolph Wharton, no less.
But she shouldn't be put in jail just for harboring a grudge.
Sending threatening letters is more than just harboring a grudge. It's all going to depend on Wharton. I mean, what he wants to do about it after he finds out it's Mercy. Maybe he'll be charitable and not press charges.
Are you going to talk to him or the police?
I don't know. There's some sniffing around I want to do first.
Oh, darling, if anybody can help Mercy, you can. I think I'm glad I'm married to a bulldog after all.
My first stop was the town clerk's office in Town Hall, a red stone castle on top of a hill. I didn't think it wise to chance Rudolph Wharton's finding out that I'd been checking for information on his wife. So I made up a story to tell the clerk that wangled me a look at the alphabetical file under M. It took only a quick flip of the cards for me to get what I'd come for. Eulalie Mayhew's present address in California, where ostensibly both sisters could be found. My next stop was the public library. With luck in a small town like this, I'd find copies of the Wellesley High School annuals there. I did. Should be the 40s, I figured. And I was right. The summer class of 1941 for Ernestine, 42 for Eulalie. I placed the pictures of the two sisters side by side. Heart-shaped faces, light eyes, identical blonde hairdos of the pompadour and page boy style of the time. Even looking closely at them as I was doing, it was hard to see the difference between them. But did they sound alike as well, I wondered. I got a telephone number for Eulalie Mayhew from the long-distance operator. Riverside, California. Information.
Hello?
Hello, Miss Mayhew?
Yes.
Is this Miss Eulalie Mayhew?
Yes, it is. Who's this?
Hi, Lester Martin, Wellesley High, class of 41. Do you remember me?
I don't believe I knew you. I didn't graduate until a year after that.
Oh, I know. Your sister Ernestine was in my class. I understand she's staying there with you right now. Is that right?
Yes, she is.
Well, it's Ernestine I really called to talk to. It's quite important. Is she there?
Yes, she's here. Just a moment. Hello?
Eulalie?
No, this is Ernestine.
Ernestine Mayhew. How are you? This is Lester Martin. Long time no see.
Yes, my sister told me you were on the phone. I'm afraid it's been longer than I'd care to admit.
I'll bet you're wondering why I called.
To be honest, I don't have the faintest notion.
Well, we're planning a class reunion. Thanksgiving Day, the old football rivalry, you know. It'll be a real homecoming. Can you make it?
Well, I don't know. I've been thinking of perhaps making a trip abroad soon.
Oh?
Who else is going to be at the reunion?
Oh, Clarence Masters, Nella Mawhinney. I was given only the M's to call, so I don't know about the others.
Then you wouldn't know if Patsy Oliver is coming?
Patsy? No, she's not on my list.
I'll have to think about it.
I'll send you a letter with all the details, just as soon as they're worked out, of course.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Ernestine. Nice talking to you. And you know something?
What?
You and your sister sure sound exactly alike.
Well, you must have forgotten, Lester. We always did.
We're gonna take a lot of trips this season to places that you may have seen before.
To stores.
To school.
Out to the swimming pool.
To the dentist, to the market. We will take our car and park it.
We're still taking a lot of car trips these days, but these days most of them are short trips. Unfortunately, short trips are tough on your car because it never gets the chance to really warm up enough to eliminate harmful deposits, things like rust, grit, and acid. They build up, and before you know it, they start doing lasting damage to your engine. Short trips call for the high-quality protection of Quaker State motor oil. Quaker State is refined from 100% pure Pennsylvania-grade crude oil, the world's choicest. Then it's fortified to protect your engine against deposits and keep your car running young. Now that you're taking more short trips than ever, it's nice to know you can find Quaker State more places than ever.
Quaker State your car to keep it running young.
We'll return to our story in a moment.
Did you say God? Well, I know him by everything you say and do. Did you say God? Well, I've seen him every time I look at you. He's touched you with his love and with his truth. Don't look any further. You are his proof. This hand in your hand in my hand. Can you hear the music play? Brother to brother, helping each other. You know we're gonna find a way. This hand in your hand in my hand. Can you hear the music say? Sisters and brothers loving each other. We're gonna make a better day.
This message is brought to you by Religion in American Life.
My phone call to California gave me nothing to go on. But for some reason, I suddenly thought of an old friend in Los Angeles. A private gumshoe named Jess Dyer, who I knew would do me a favor. A little stakeout at the Mayhew house, and maybe some discreet checking with the neighbors. Meanwhile, I decided to drop in for another little off-the-cuff chat with Chief Torrance down at the Wellesley police station. I was wondering, when you talked to Mrs. Wharton, what did you ask her? Did you find out when exactly she left Wellesley and how she got to California? Anything like that?
Well, I didn't interrogate her, if that's what you mean. No reason to. All I needed to know was that she was alive.
I suppose so. Only...
What are you getting at, Severson? I hope you don't have the idea that I didn't check thoroughly just because it was Wharton.
No, I wasn't thinking that.
There have been people in this town from time to time who've tried to buy me, but they've learned quick enough that I'm not their boy.
I can tell that.
Okay, I just wanted to set things straight, in case. Because I'm getting the notion that you've got an itch.
An itch?
That's what I call it when it happens to me. An itch I can't scratch keeps me up nights sometimes. A feeling that something's out of kilter, off the mark.
Yeah. I guess maybe that's what I got.
And I gather you're thinking maybe it's a place I can reach that you can't.
Maybe it is. What can you tell me about the Mayhew sisters, for instance? I hear they look and sound a lot alike.
Well, that's true enough, especially in their younger days when they dressed alike, wore their hair the same way and everything. Later on, they didn't do that anymore, of course.
I also hear that at one time, at least, they were both in love with Rudolph Wharton.
Yeah, I suppose they were. That'd be back in their younger days, too, before Wharton settled on Ernestine. I remember when my wife and I used to go to the steakhouse in those days. We'd see the three of them, young Wharton, as handsome then as he is now, with the Mayhew girls, one on each arm. Both of them looking up at him like he was God.
Is there anybody in town, anybody you can think of that Ernestine Mayhew would be likely to keep in touch with, no matter where she is?
Yep, one person, Constance Giordi. Taught both the Mayhew girls, but Ernestine apparently always felt something special for her. She's the first person I tried to check when Wharton started getting those letters.
And?
You notice I said tried. I asked her if she heard from Ernestine, and all she said was, wherever Ernestine was Ernestine's own business, and I should mind my own.
Where does she live?
Over in Back Bay on Oak Street in a little house Ernestine gave her, scot-free. She's the one to talk to about Ernestine, all right. But I don't envy you trying.
I caught a faint movement of the lace curtain across the glass-paneled door, and I rang again.
Go away, whoever you are.
I'm not going to, Miss Giordi. I need to see you.
Who are you, anyway? I never saw you before.
I know. I haven't lived here in Wellesley long. I'm a detective from Boston, and I want to speak to you about Ernestine. Ernestine Mayhew?
I just want to know one thing from you, whoever you are. Is Ernestine in any kind of trouble?
I don't know. That's what I want to talk to you about.
Well, then come in. Whatever it isn't any business of the neighbors.
I stepped inside into a room that smelled of oriental rugs and furniture polish. Constance Giordi peered into my face with eyes like a pair of shiny black marbles.
In the first place, you haven't even told me your name.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's Severson. Newt Severson. My wife and I moved here recently. Our house is directly across the street from Rudolph Wharton. Miss Giordi, do you have any way of knowing that Ernestine Mayhew is all right?
All right? What do you mean by that?
If you could tell me that you've heard from her, then...
But I can't tell you that, Mr. Severson, because I haven't. Not a word.
Isn't that unusual? I'm told you're the one she's most likely to be in touch with.
If she chose to, but there's no reason she should.
But doesn't it seem strange to you that she apparently left town without telling anyone that she was leaving?
Oh, but she didn't do that, Mr. Severson. She told me.
She did?
Of course. She telephoned and told me she was leaving Rudolph Wharton at last. Well, I told her, good riddance. I hoped she'd leave him the way she found him, without a penny.
Then Ernestine knew of your dislike for her husband.
Oh, naturally. I spoke against the man from the first moment she and Eulalie took up with him.
Eulalie was in love with him, too?
And I told Ernestine she should let Eulalie have him. Eulalie would have been a better match for him. She wouldn't have let the man walk all over her the way Ernestine allowed him to.
Then Ernestine and Eulalie were not as alike as they appear to be in the photographs?
Oh, they only looked alike.
And sounded alike?
Well, yes, that was strange. One might swear that their voices were identical.
Then someone might talk to one of them on the telephone and not be certain whether it was Ernestine or her sister.
Yes, that's true.
In that case, Miss Giordi, the only evidence we have that Ernestine Mayhew is safely in California is this letter. Chief Torrance received it in answer to his inquiry.
Mr. Severson, this letter was not written by Ernestine Mayhew.
It wasn't? Are you sure?
I'm positive. Now, even I couldn't always tell them apart by their appearance. Often I'd have to look to see which one of them was speaking. But as their school teacher, I learned to distinguish their handwriting. I am positive. This letter was written by Eulalie Mayhew.
No pain's a little one when it happens to your child. Campho-Phenique instantly stops pain of minor cuts, scrapes, or burns.
What about infection?
Campho-Phenique gently penetrates skin injuries to kill germs that can cause infection, so injuries can heal nature's way.
Janie, feel better now?
It stopped hurting, Mommy.
For minor cuts, scrapes, burns, Campho-Phenique, the penetrating first aid medication, stops pain instantly, helps prevent infection. Campho-Phenique.
College only puts foolish ideas into a girl's head. Some men also thought women should never get the vote. The thing some people used to believe. Even today, some people think all aspirin is alike. But the fact is, all aspirin is not alike. Bayer tested its aspirin against every leading brand. The test showed for quality, Bayer is superior. Remember, as with all medicines, read and follow label directions carefully. When you get a headache, get Bayer, the better quality aspirin.
The Zero Hour continues after this.
USO? Gee, I guess there must be one around here someplace. Yeah, let me think. Hold on. I'll go over here and ask, okay?
For longer than we care to remember, people have been taking the USO for granted. Sure, it's a place for servicemen and women, a place they can feel at home. Read, rest up, write letters home, a nice, clean place where the hamburgers are great and so are the people serving them. Tickets to shows, ball games, sure. Everybody knows that about the USO. But what people don't know is that it takes money to keep the USO going for our 2 million men and women still in uniform. It takes a little money spread out among a lot of people. Because USO gets no government funds. It depends entirely on your gifts to the United Fund, Community Chest, or local USO campaign.
So please give. Our work isn't done.
I felt a chill when the old woman told me with such certainty that the letter had not been written by Ernestine, but by her sister. Maybe Mercy Bird, with all her talk of murder, wasn't so far off base after all. But I knew about handwriting evidence in court. One expert verified a forgery, a second expert repudiated the testimony of the first, although I wondered who would dare to repudiate Constance Giordi. I was in the mood now to have that chat with Rudolph Wharton regarding Mercy's imprudent, threatening notes. I had a feeling I was going to find Wharton inclined to be lenient. I found him in his office in a building that housed a bank, a pharmacy, and a department store, all belonging to Wharton, I presumed. He sounded even more tolerant than I'd expected.
Poor Mercy. She never quite got over her mother's death. They were very close.
Yes, I gather that.
She blames me for it, as perhaps she's told you. You know, I've always thought that strange. It's natural enough to blame someone, the doctor of the fates, but just because I happen to own the nursing home?
Yes, that must be the reason for her sending you those letters. But why do you suppose she would accuse you of killing your wife?
Well, she's always been fond of Ernestine, I think. Ernestine tolerated her. I suppose somehow she associated my wife's departure with the death of her mother. Two people she was fond of.
Yes. I guess that's possible.
She's inclined to be, eccentric. As I'm sure you've noticed. Eccentric is putting it kindly.
She's something of a character, all right.
But harmless enough, I imagine.
Then, are you going to press charges against her?
No, I don't think that'll be necessary.
That's very generous of you, considering the harassment she's caused you.
Well, perhaps it might be well for her to see a psychiatrist. There's a good man at the hospital I could refer her to.
I doubt that she has the money for that kind of treatment.
Well, something could be worked out, I'm sure.
Thank you, Mr. Wharton. You're being most considerate. I'm glad. As a matter of fact, my wife and I have become quite fond of Mercy Bird, and I wouldn't want to see her in any real trouble.
By the way, Mr. Severson, I've had a call from my wife.
You have?
Yes. She was puzzling over a phone call she received. The caller identified himself as someone who'd been in high school with her, and he invited her to a class reunion.
What's puzzling about that? Someone's always trying to get up a high school class reunion.
Of course. But then she asked the man if Patsy Oliver was coming, and he answered that he didn't know because she wasn't on the list.
What's wrong with that?
Well, Patsy Oliver was a very popular figure at Wellesley High in those years. I remember him well. Patsy was a nickname for Patrick.
Oh. Well, I tell your wife not to worry. Memory plays tricks on people. We all know that. Don't we, Mr. Wharton? I wasn't worried about that little blunder I'd made. I was only wondering what kind of call Rudolph Wharton had really received. Leaving Wharton's office, I threw caution out of the window by walking into the bank and making an inquiry about Ernestine Mayhew Wharton's account. I showed my Boston ID card, and after a long moment's hesitation, the bank official obliged.
Well, yes. Mrs. Wharton has an account with us.
A separate account of her own?
That's right.
I need to know what withdrawals Mrs. Wharton has made since January of this year.
Oh, well, just a moment. That I'll have to check.
You understand, of course, sir, this inquiry must be kept entirely confidential?
Yes. Yes, of course. Just a moment.
He picked up a telephone, and I wondered if he was checking with a bookkeeper or with Wharton.
Mr. Severson.
Yes?
I must say it does seem rather odd, but Mrs. Wharton has made no withdrawals at all from her account since January.
Chief Torrance wasn't going to like it, but I figured it was time for us to have another little talk. I was right. He didn't like it.
Damn it, Severson. I don't need this can of worms. I don't need it at all.
I can understand your position.
And it seems to me everything you've dug up is still pure speculation.
Even Constance Giordi's statement? She told me she'd swear on her family Bible that your letter ostensibly from Ernestine was actually written by you lately.
That's the one thing I can't ignore. I'll give you that.
Then the reasonable doubt is now on the side of Mercy Bird, don't you think?
I suppose once you allow yourself to even consider the possibility of murder, town selectmen notwithstanding, you've... Very well, Severson. Let's assume that we have a case and get on it.
Yes, sir.
Here's something to start with. After you brought up the subject, I checked out the passenger list on the flights out of Boston at the time of Ernestine Wharton's assumed departure.
And?
And Eve Wharton flew out of Boston bound for Los Angeles on January 10th. If it wasn't Ernestine, it was somebody else.
Eulalie.
Yeah. Well, considering we're going along with this whole assumption, I suppose it could have been, although you'd think somebody around Wellesley would have seen her while she was here.
They might have and thought it was Ernestine. If Eulalie were deliberately assuming her sister's identity.
All right. And what we want to find out is, if there was a flight into Boston from L.A. sometime just before the 10th that shows an E. Mayhew on the passenger list.
Exactly.
Yes. I'll put it through. Call for you, Severson.
My wife, I told her I'd be here. You see, our baby's due any time now.
Then get on this phone, man, for heaven's sake.
Hello? Hi, Brenda. Are you all right? When? I'll be right home. It wasn't our baby, it was yours.
Mine?
You can forget Greg Farley. Your obscene caller's still on the loose. He just called my wife.
You are listening to Mutual's presentation of The Zero Hour.
When they change a plane flight, I check to see if another is just as good or better.
Fred Underwood, Kansas City postal worker, probably knows as much about airline schedules as the airlines.
I want to give that extra service that goes with airmail. So I move it just as fast as I can to get it out of here.
And airmail is moving. Now you can almost always get next-day delivery to cities up to 600 miles away. And two-day delivery anywhere in the country. Just mail by 4 p.m., use zip code, and mail from a specially marked airmail box.
When I started here, it was all propeller planes and trains. And back in the post office, mail was handled the same way it had been for years. Now there's jet planes and zip codes, and airmail's really going places.
Airmail and zip codes. They speed everybody's letters. If you don't know a zip code, check your phone book or call the post office. Help us help you. Use zip code.
Young I may be, but still I'm a man. Just turned 18 and I'll do what I can to find me a place where I can be me. Get ready for life and be free as the sea. Where do I go from here? Oh, where do I go from here? I've finished school, but what lies ahead? Don't want to get trapped, want to feel free instead. All over the world, there's so much to do. The call of the sea, don't you hear it too? Where do I go from here? Oh, where do I go from here?
What about the new Navy? You'll get your chance at success, learn an exciting job, and see the world. Call toll-free 800-841-8000. That's 800-841-8000. Or see your Navy recruiter. Be someone special in the new Navy.
I know where I'm going from here.
Tomorrow at this time, rest your eyes and listen here to this week's continuing study in suspense, A Die in the Country. I'm Rod Serling, and this is The Zero Hour.
Today's episode brought to you in part by Quaker State Motor Oil, Campho-Phenique, and Bayer Aspirin. This is The Zero Hour on Mutual Radio.
You have been listening to The Zero Hour, a presentation of the Mutual Broadcasting System in association with Hollywood Radio Theater. Heard every weekday at this time. Rod Serling is your host. Zero Hour is produced and directed by Elliott Lewis. The Hollywood Radio Theater theme was played by Ferranti and Teicher and is now available on United Artists Records and Tapes. Hugh Douglas speaking. Tune in tomorrow, and once again,
rest your eyes and listen here
to The Zero Hour.
This is the Mutual Radio Network.